Hello, guys. We're continuing with life science in a nutshell, my notes, study materials. So, we were going over the section of movement, transport, and specificity of cell membranes. Say hi, Ruben.
Hello.
Okay, Ruben, read this part. That's showing the cell membrane. So, the permeability of the cell membrane and how it is selective is what we're learning, and what the cell membrane consists of as well. Okay, read what amphipathic means. Amphipathic. I hope that's spelled right.
Amphipathic
Mhm.
means the phospholipid is not just hydrophobic or hydrophilic. Instead, the hydrophilic
Phospholipid
instead the phospholipid
possesses both characteristics.
possesses both characteristics. The head portion of the phospholipid is hydrophilic and faces outward, with two hydrophobic tails that face inward. When temperatures are cool, the liquid state goes to a solid one as the phospholipids pack more tightly. How cholesterol resists changes in membrane fluidity. With temperature change. At high temperatures, cholesterol restrains the movement of phospholipids and reduces fluidity, but at lower temperatures, it breaks up regular packing arrangements and increases fluidity. Peripheral.
So those are talking about two different types of membrane proteins. One is called peripheral and one is called integral. So what is peripheral?
Peripheral provides the framework for the plasma membrane and is attached to integral protein loosely bound to surface of protein. And integral is to go through the membrane with two hydrophilic ends embedded in protein.
So the integral is um, inside. That's what it's called, integral, inside the membrane, um, and the hydrophilic ends are what interact with the peripheral proteins, which are more on the surface. Okay, 6 major functions of membrane proteins are.
One of them is transport. The second one, enzymatic activity. Third one is cell-cell recognition. Fourth one is intercellular joining. Fifth one is signal transduction, and the sixth one is attachment to the cytoskeleton and extracellular matrix. The ability of a cell to distinguish other cells based on recognition of membrane carbohydrates, the glycolipids, and glycoproteins
Mhm.
attached to the outside of plasma membranes varies.
The fluid mosaic model is showing the membrane as a fluid structure with various proteins either embedded inside or like the integral proteins or attached to the bilayer, like the peripheral proteins, to the phospholipid bilayer. This model explains how membranes regulate cells' molecular traffic. In summary, the plasma membrane allows substances to cross, and some substances cross more easily than others depending on their polarity and their size. So non-polar molecules, which are hydrophobic, um, pass through a little more easily, while ions and polar hydrophilic molecules, ones that are larger, cannot. So those require to go through either channels or specific proteins that help with the transport. So this is repeating. Integral proteins penetrate hydrophobic core of the lipid bilayer. Many are transmembrane proteins which span membrane. Others only extend partway into the hydrophobic core. So integral proteins are actually embedded in the phospholipid bilayer. However, peripheral proteins are not embedded in the bilayer. They are loosely bound to the surface of the membrane. Okay, go ahead, read this.
Glycolipids, membrane carb covalently bonded to lipid, involved in cell attachment and the recognition of other cells. Glycoprotein,
Membrane
membrane
carb
carb covalently bonded to a protein, acts as a recognition site for hormones and neurotransmitters. Also allows cells to attach to one another to form tissues and recognize other cells. Transport protein
facilitates.
facilitate.
Hold on.
Uh,
Okay, so glycolipids and glycoproteins are carbohydrates which bind to either lipid or protein on the membranes, and they help with different kinds of functions like cell recognition and attaching of cells to one another. Go ahead. What's the transport protein? This
transport protein is facilitate. Is to facilitate movement of hydrophilic substances through the lipid bilayer.
hydrophilic.
Hydrophilic. It's a facilitate movement of hydrophilic substances through the lipid bilayer. Example: channel protein has a hydrophilic channel that molecules can pass through. Channel protein. Example: uh, aquaporin.
So there's some terminology referring to molecules and stuff, and diffusion and gradients. Hypotonic means having a lower concentration of solute than another solution. In plants, hypotonic means that the plant is turgid and the uptake of water is eventually balanced by wall pushing back on the cell. In animals, water enters the cell faster than it leaves, and the cell may swell into lyse. So there's a lower concentration, I guess, and then hypertonic means higher concentration of solute. So if a lake, it says, becomes hypertonic to animal cells, the cells might shrivel and die. Plant loses water to its surroundings and shrivels. Plant cells shrivel, the plasma membrane pulls away from the wall. through plasmolysis, and the animal cell loses water to its environment and shrivels.